with the commissioners meeting. So if you're on either one of those platforms, thank you for joining us. We are now live. We're here with the Berks County Commissioners Board meeting for June the 18th. As always, we're going to begin with a moment of silence, and that will be followed by the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am going to make a note that we had two executive sessions, one on June the 15th dealing with personnel, and another one yesterday, June the 17th, dealing with personnel and litigation. Are there any additions or corrections for the June 11th Commissioner meeting minutes and June 11th Operation meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. Is there any public comment on specific agenda items?
No, there's not.
Let me make a note relative to public comment. Public comment is accepted through the Q&A function of Microsoft Teams Live, or you can post a question through Facebook Live or YouTube Live, and our great IS staff will pick that up and get those questions to us. In order to post a question, we need your first and last name and the municipality where you live. Each citizen can submit one comment that's no longer than 3 minutes, and the comment period at the end will be a total of 30 minutes. We will listen to the comments, and if the commissioners would like to make additional comments, once the comment period is closed, commissioners are free to do so. With that, we will move into our agenda. Number one, authorizing, and under authorizing, Budget Department, adopt a resolution authorizing 2019 budget transfers in the amount of $60,650 and 2020 budget transfers in the amount of $27,649 and 2020 appropriations in the amount of $217,191 per listing dated June the 15th of 2020. There's one item listed under purchasing. Adopt a resolution authorizing the award and the Director of Contract and Procurement to execute, as a result of an invitation to bid, a 1-year contract for trash services to be utilized by the County of Berks facilities as follows. It goes to Republic Services. Estimated annual expenditure is $17,346.96. We have several items listed under the commissioners. Item A, adopt a resolution designating the redevelopment authority of the County of Berks to administer the rent relief program on behalf of the County of Berks, and further authorizes the RDA to submit an application and any required documents on behalf of the County of Berks to the rent relief program administered by the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. Item B, adopt a resolution designating Alan Piper, Transportation Planner, Berks County Planning Commission, to act as the county's electronic filing administrator for the exclusive purposes of signing and submitting permits to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection relating to county-owned bridge replacement or rehabilitation projects. Item C, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute a letter to McTish Kunkel and Associates in Allentown, PA, granting an extension of time of 6 months for the completion of construction inspection services for the Drybobis Station Covered Wood Bridge Rehabilitation Project until December 31st of 2020. This extension is required to match the contractor's time extension to complete the physical work and to finalize all records supporting this project. There's no additional cost associated with this extension time. This extension has been reviewed and endorsed by PennDOT. Item D, adopt a resolution authorizing the execution by the Berks County Board of Commissioners of a letter of support to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development on behalf of the Borough of Wyomissing's Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grant application for the renovation and redevelopment of its Berkshire Heights Playground Complex. Item E, adopt a resolution authorizing execution by the Berks County Board of Commissioners of a letter of support to Senator David Argel and Senator Judy Schwenk for the appointment of Debbie Oliveri, Berks County Director of Elections, to the Pennsylvania Election Law Advisory Board on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. Item F, adopt a resolution of the Berks County Board of Commissioners declaring an emergency to exist due to the inoperable functionality of the back entrance door, the alley, at the Berks County Courthouse and the 4 interior doors at the Reed Street entrance of the Berks County Services Center, thereby requiring immediate removal and replacement of said doors, and to protect public health and safety. The board hereby accepts the proposal dated March 11th of 2020 from B&G Glass, Leesport, PA, and further authorizes the issuance of a purchase order to perform said emergency services at a not to exceed amount of $41,900. Item G, adopt a resolution authorizing approval of the following policies: telework policy and temperature screening policy. Telework is effective June the 10th, and the temperature screening was effective June the 15th. Item H, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the agreement by and between the County of Berks and the Friends of the Eplers One-Room Schoolhouse, setting forth the terms and conditions, including the restoration, maintenance, and educational programming of the schoolhouse. Item I, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the agreement for an accessibility survey for polling places between the County of Berks and Election IQ out of Stowe, Ohio, to provide an ADA survey of the county's 202 polling places at a not to exceed amount of $69,993. Item 2, a motion to authorize execution of contract agreements and amendments as furnished by the contract coordinator as set forth on the attached listing dated June 16th of 2020. There are a total of 20 contracts. There's 1 with the Area Agency on Aging, 2 with CareerLink, 12 with Children and Youth Services, 1 with the Department of Emergency Services, 1 with Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities, and 2 with Parks and Recreation. Then item 3, a motion to ratify and confirm payments as set forth on the Controller's Office vouchers listing for the week ending June 17th of 2020 and the payment of electronic transfers and employee payroll. May I have a motion?
Sir, I did. Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I try to minimize background noise. I apologize.
That's a smart move. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion is carried. And with that, we'll turn to our County Treasurer, Dennis Adams, for the Treasurer's Report.
Good morning, wherever you are, and good health. This morning we have an opening balance of $223,503,609.19. A balance of $5,543,111.57 to clear, leaving us with a balance of $2,217,960,497.62.
Thank you very much. And now to our County Controller, Sandy Graffius, with the Controller's Report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, our total accounts payable this week was $4,162,950.45, and there was no payroll.
Thank you very much. And now to Ron Seaman, our Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have nothing to bring forth at this time.
Thank you. And that quickly, we're to Commissioners' reports. I'll turn it over to our Vice Chair, Commissioner Kevin Barnhart.
Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach, and everyone who has joined us this morning. I have several important announcements. Thank you, Ron Seaman, and everyone else who was involved. We had Pam Schupp and Ken Pick and Whit O'Brien, Jill Kaharczyk, Jessica Blauser, involved in submitting our DCED application. We got it in ahead of time yesterday morning. The deadline was yesterday afternoon. We're awaiting word on our successful acceptance. We did receive a confirmation number. This really relates to the $38+ million of CARES Act funding being allocated to Berks County to be used in specific areas. We are presently compiling the community needs assessment, which will be an online tool for the community at large, the community organizations and businesses to fill out the survey so we have a complete understanding of the universe in Berks County as to where this CARES Act money should be best utilized. We have about 24 sample people who are interested in reviewing the survey. We're going to send it out Friday, so we get feedback as to the ease of using it, difficulty, if there is any questions that should be added or deleted. There are separate tabs for businesses, for municipalities, for 501c3s. There's a total of about 70 questions, so it's going to be a little intense, but we really need this to understand if this $38 million is enough. And I can tell you, I think it's woefully inadequate, and this will give us a real measure as to what we need to advocate for in Washington and Harrisburg going forward. So again, we're going to send a test out Friday, receive feedback Monday, Tuesday, make any kind of modifications to the online survey, and then Wednesday during our weekly commissioners update at 3:30, we're going to be going through this like a tutorial, explaining to the community. Then the website online survey will be open for a 2-week period of time. That goes to July 2nd. We want to try to capture as much information as we can these first 2 weeks. It will remain open for a period of time after that, but we're expecting to receive the $38 million on or before July 15th. We want to be able to get this out to the most needy people in the community by the time we receive this money. So everything's going to fall into place. 2 examples, a Helping Harvest. I received Jay Worrell's weekly update. Since March of this year, they have expended an additional $150,000 a month in food purchases. And as we all know, the price of food continues to escalate. Their donations have trickled down to nothing. So they're making high-end purchases of food. So that certainly is one of our sample survey completers. Assessment is Jay Worrell to see what their true needs are. We also received real positive information from Carolyn Basic from Cook County Wellness on our contact tracing. There are 26 trained tracers, 18 more to be trained next week, and things are going extremely well. They have Spanish version bilingual tracers, and the system's in place. And from what I understand, they've had 110 contacts and only 5 people have refused. And from those 110 contacts, they've also traced some additional potential positive cases. So everything's up and running. They're continuing to learn and adjust based on the experiences. So that is definitely going extremely well for the community. Serving as chair of the Census 2020 Committee, Everyone Counts in Berks County, we are pushing forward with trying to get as much of the messaging out as possible, specifically for our undercounted areas. We have about 34 census tracts in Reading, which are anywhere from 10 to 20% under the county average for percentage. We have rolled out some robocalls and robotext to remind people to go online and fill out the census. We have every indication that it's going to be extended to October 31st. We have nothing official, but we believe the enumerators are going to be out until October 31st, which will give us an advantage when students and teachers get back to school, that we can really push the census information out to our students in our area school districts. 2 more quick items. Election board, as you see on 206-2020, the hiring of Election IQ. We discussed this prior to COVID-19 about having them survey each and every one of our polling locations for ADA compliance. There have been numerous counties throughout the country who have been visited by the Department of Justice and have had a lot of failure in their ADA compliance in their polling locations. So we feel we should be proactive, go out ahead of the Department of Justice, understand where changes need to be made, if they can be made, and then budget this over. Once we know what those numbers are, we can budget this accordingly in our 5-year forecast. Monday's our election board. Will be certifying the election results, getting them up officially to Harrisburg. So that's going to take place, I think, at 11:45 on Monday. That's good news. And last but not least, item 205.2020 Epper School. Thank you to my colleagues for supporting this move. It has been a struggle, but we're going to make it. Now the tentative date to move the school from its present location to the Heritage Center is the middle of July. So stay tuned for that. Jane and her friends at the Friends of Upper School have hired a firm to record the move, strongly encouraging people, if they're aware of the actual move date, to avoid going to the move. Obviously, we're still in yellow. We suspect we're going to be going to green shortly, but we want to make sure we're not creating a crowd that could put us back. We want to make sure it's a safe move. It's going to take about 8 hours to move it from its location over to the Heritage Center. So just want to, again, thank my colleagues for supporting this move. It hasn't been the easiest thing, but I think for the history and the heritage of this community, it's one of the best possible things I've seen in my nearly 13 years here as a commissioner. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Barnhart, for that detailed report. We'll move now to Commissioner Michael Rivera.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Linebaugh. Just want to remind everyone again, if you are a business owner or if you know of a business owner, the county has a small business restart loan program, and that is available right now. You can go to the Neighborhood Housing Services website. Once you go to their homepage and you scroll down, you'll see a flyer there for the program. You'll click on read this post and it'll take you to the application itself there, or you can either download the paper application, or you can click to continue to do the online version as well. There'll be a list of the documents that you need, so please look into that. The deadline is tomorrow, end of day. So again, if you are a business owner or if you know of a business owner, please help get this word out. We know that a lot of businesses are struggling. They need financial assistance. So we need help getting this information out. So if you live, in town and there's businesses on the main street there, please let them know. If there's your favorite business that just opened or still closed, please try to reach out to them and let them know as well. If you do have any questions, or if a business owner has any questions on a loan, you can call Neighborhood Housing Services directly, and they will be able to answer any questions there they have for you. And they speak both English and Spanish there. So please help me get this information out. It's a benefit for the community. We don't want our businesses closing, and we want those that are going to reopen to be able to do so in a way that they're going to be able to be viable businesses moving forward. Also, now it's the summertime, kids are done with school. A lot of times kids don't have anything to do. There is, if you go to the BCTV website, there's something called Berks Summer Camps Unite, which is a group of nonprofits that have come together to offer great activities to kids of all ages, school age kids. So please visit it there. Again, it's on bctv.org. You will find that information there. It's a way to keep the kids active during the summer. And as you know, when they're active doing something, their mind is focused on something, there's less chance of them getting in trouble. One other thing I want to touch on is we're currently working on a various rental assistance programs. We know that a lot of people, due to the loss of work, not receiving unemployment, are in a situation that they may be evicted now starting in July once the eviction moratorium ends. There are different programs out there right now. We're in the process of making a list of all those programs, what the guidelines are, who they can help. That way, and we'll also have a list of organizations that can help people out. We'll make that public. That way, when you go to one organization, if they're not the best one for you, they're going to be able to refer you to where you can go to get the best rental assistance program possible based on your need and on your situation. Right now, through the CARES Act, the county is being made available of anywhere between $1.5 and $4 million, which can be used between now and the end of the year. There's also about another 600,000 or 700,000 that we've received in COVID-related funds as well for that. We've applied for another 300,000 from the state, waiting to hear back from that. And the city of Reading also has their own pots of money for the rental assistance programs as well. So we're working on compiling the list, making sure that these resources are used in the best way possible, because the idea is to keep people in their homes. That's the main goal of these programs. Once people are evicted, it's a lot harder to get them into housing, have them move, all of that. So the goal of this program is to be able to keep people in their homes for the time that hopefully this will pass. They'll be able to get back on their feet financially to continue to be able to pay their rent. More information will be available on this shortly. And that's all I have, Commissioner Leinbach. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera and Commissioner Barnhart. I just have two comments. I want to reiterate that I'm continuing to work with my colleagues and with our State Association of Counties and our National Association of Counties to address the issues surrounding law enforcement and in particular the African American community. I've made my comments very clear both on my June the 1st post and then my comments last week at this commissioner's meeting, what I believe about the tragic George Floyd incident and now yet another tragedy in the city of Atlanta. The solutions that we're looking at right now revolve around changes in HR so that not just vetting people at the beginning of the hiring process, but looking at ways to vet people while they're in law enforcement to address issues before the tragedies that have occurred take place. Also looking at collective bargaining agreements. And before you panic and say, this is an excuse to tackle the unions, nothing like that at all. It's making sure that our collective bargaining agreements relative to law enforcement reinforce the celebration of good law enforcement officers and that they have policies in place that will not tolerate individuals that are problematic. The one issue that seems to revolve around the whole thing is law enforcement culture. I've talked to people both inside law enforcement and outside, and we need to address some of these serious issues. The simple thing, it's difficult at times to do investigations inside of law enforcement because of misplaced loyalties. So I want you to know that is still a very important issue to me, both at the state and national level. And I will reiterate, because there continues to be confusion, the county role, we have a direct responsibility when it comes to corrections officers and the Berks County Jail. We have an HR responsibility when it comes to the detectives in our district attorney's office and deputy sheriffs in our sheriff's office. The direct management rests with those elected officials. There's something called 1620 rights, which gives them the exclusive rights to hire, fire, and manage. However, they are under our HR regulations, and so we're looking at that as well. When it comes to local police departments, the county of Berks has absolutely no role. We have no authority. Counties are under the county code. Municipalities are under the state municipal code. Municipalities have policing responsibility. And so your municipality may have chosen to simply go with state police, and then state police would be under the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But if you're in a municipality that has their own force, like the city of Reading, like Wyomissing, or a regional force, like Mount Penn, which is part of the Central Berks, or Maiden Creek Township, which is part of Northern Berks. It is the municipality, or in the regional, those municipalities that oversee that policing. If you are interested in community oversight, talk to those municipal elected officials. They are the ones that have the authority to put together some type of community oversight. The second thing I want to mention is completely unrelated. I'm at 61 years old. World War II is something that has always been around for me. And I can remember it was either high school or early college buying a record of a British singer by the name of Vera Lynn. Now, a lot of you may have no idea who she was, but she died this morning at the age of 103 years old, a long life. And she was known for singing to the troops, primarily in England during World War II, but she also traveled to various fronts in World War II to sing to the soldiers. And if you wonder how famous and popular she was, in 1979 album The Wall, Pink Floyd released a song titled Vera, referencing Vera Lynn, and the song We'll Meet Again with the lyrics. And the song they put together as well was Does Anybody Here Remember Vera Lynn? A very popular lady, and in her own way, we often talk about World War II and rightfully focus on the men and women that served in uniform. Here in the States, we also focus on the people back home and Rosie the Riveter, but sometimes we forget that there are other heroes. And in the case of Vera Lynn, she clearly was a hero, and today she passed away at the age of 103. Those are my comments. We'll turn to any comments from our row officers. Hearing no comments from our row officers, we will move to the Q&A. Well, it's not Q&A. You're using either the Q&A tab for your comments on Microsoft Teams Live. You may also, if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, and I know there are several people watching on those platforms, if you have a comment, you may post to those platforms, but we must have your first and last name as well as the municipality where you reside. Mary, go ahead and read our comments for this morning.
Crystal Kowalski from Why I'm Missing. Good morning, Commissioners. As we look into policing practices and policies in the wake of the murder of George Floyd and the massive protests, let's take this time to listen to the ideas of the communities that have long been abused. Many school districts in these communities are discussing discontinuing their use of school resource officers. Minneapolis Public Schools terminated their contract with the police department. In Reading, we just received a federal grant for $500,000 to place 4 school resource officers in our public school. This is moving counter to the changes that are needed. Children do not need to be policed. In addition, as we express a desire to hear the voice of the people, I ask again that as public officials, you approach the community and ask them to create a community oversight board. Thank you. Liz Cates, Bern Township. Is there anything county government can do to rescue the Reading Hospital Detox and Rehab Center? The Berks community needs this program. Matt Detterline, Reading. I live and work right here in Reading, but my work schedule prevents me from attending commissioners' meetings in person. Moving the time of the meetings to an evening or even a weekend schedule would allow for more Berks County residents to attend. Is there a reason why community participation and governmental transparency aren't more important than convenience? Louise Grimm from Why I'm Missing. Commissioner Rivera, thank you for standing on the Penn Street Bridge this past week in support of Black Lives Matter. Your willingness to step up and support Black people in Berks County is laudable, but I wonder why this support does not extend to the 5 Brown families detained in the Berks Detention Center. These people are not criminals. They are families seeking asylum in our country, like so many of our families, including yours once did. Like nursing homes and prisons, these centers throughout the country have harbored the virus, which has resulted in sickness and death. Please share with us why you and your fellow commissioners have resisted testing of the detainees and their guards, who now that the county is opening up may be unknowingly bringing the virus into the facility without showing any symptoms themselves. Testing is the only way to identify for sure the carriers and protect everyone in these facilities. That is why you have wisely instituted testing at Berks Heim and discovered many positive cases. Better still, why have you not shut this center down? The psychological effects of sheltering in place due to COVID-19 are driving people crazy. Yet these families and the children in particular have been subjected to this for months on end. Please tell us why you're continuing to keep this facility open, risking lives in the process. To summarize, my questions are: why have you resisted testing in the detention center, and why have you not shut down this facility? Manuel Sanchez from Exeter. This question is for all commissioners. Some of our state representatives, Senator Doug Mastriano and Russ Diamond, have repeatedly referred to the downward trend of the spread of COVID-19 with praise. This was a trajectory achieved by implementing strict policy to minimize exposure. If the goal of the policy was and still is to gain breathing room and save lives, why are you and representatives supporting an end to the emergency declaration? Do you have any plans that will support the efforts of the medical community and reflect all of the cautions advised by them? Amy Levengood, Douglasville. Commissioners, We often hear that the county doesn't maintain a police force and that the local municipalities that have police forces of their own should be responsive to their citizens. What role is the county willing to play in facilitating constructive communications between police and citizens? Lou Spencer, Reading. Commissioner Barnhart, your repeated claim that the families locked up in the detention center are very well cared for is in direct contradiction to sworn statements by those families who report being sick, frightened, and unable to distance from one another. You've also said, quote, in April, we tested 2 residents and a staff and there weren't any positives. Today is June 18. How can you credibly claim that the 5 families in Leesport, the people ICE pays us to keep under lock and key, are safe from the coronavirus? Jane Palmer, why missing? Last week, in response to a question about why only law enforcement officers were on a panel about whether changes were needed in law enforcement, you said you were talking to other constituencies as well. Since then, peaceful Black Lives Matter protests have happened in Hamburg, Morgantown, Robsonia, and elsewhere, with many more planned in the coming days. Clearly, many of your constituents are concerned about police violence, and an LEO panel is not enough. When will you engage in meaningful dialogue with your Black and Brown constituents and with the leaders of community groups directly impacted by police violence, such as the hosts of Dear Reading and Make the Road, Pennsylvania? Henry O'Leary, Cumru Township. The evictions starting on July 10 will only be the start of a massive disruption. Evictions will be ongoing with more and more people affected. This will have a significant impact on our community emotionally, financially, and morally. Won't it be more expensive to house and feed and clothe all the people thrown out of their homes than having them stay where they are? And won't those who have been in frontline and service jobs, those who have been at more risk from COVID and suffered in greater numbers, also be those at more risk of being evicted? Troy Turner, Reading. Commissioner Rivera, you stood on the Penn Street Bridge this week with a sign saying Black Lives Matter. Thank you for that. Surely that sentiment extends to the Black and Brown lives currently locked up at the detention center, right? When you say Black Lives Matter, do you also mean that you'll support policies that help working people, like raising the minimum wage and reinvesting money spent on policing into communities of color? Tobias Spencer, Shillington. Is anyone tracking the number of apartments in the county that are at risk of eviction? And what proportion of all apartments does that represent? Claudia Strauss, Berkshire Heights. We have a grave public health crisis looming over us, one that should weigh heavily on the consciences of all of us, and that is the impending eviction of people from their homes and apartments starting July 10. How are people who have lost their jobs and in this economy have little prospect of landing new ones supposed to come up with 4 months of rent or mortgage payments in one lump sum? What about the impact on the health of our communities, our children? Where will they live? Where will they be torn from their neighborhood schools and everything familiar? What about people who have lost their businesses, the people who don't know how they'll ever support their families? The horrific potential for spikes in suicides. There were 3 pages of small print in April's Reading Eagle listing all of the homes that would be up for auction. There was a new set of listings, also 3 pages worth, in May. Those listed in May are set to go into auction on July 10. What happened to the ones listed in April? Did they go ahead despite the freeze? Something needs to be worked out for all of those affected, the people on the cusp of losing their homes, the landlords who have been struggling on their own arrears, the mortgage holders, something fair, something equitable, something that will make it possible for families to rise from all of this. We can, all of us, resolve not to look away. This is not a matter to be shoved at one department or another, whether it be the courts or the sheriff. This goes to the heart of who we are as a country, as a county, as a community. It is about leadership. And in a phrase that has always resonated for me, it belongs at the top. The buck stops here with you, the commissioners. These are not normal times, and the clock is ticking. What plans have you made to address this? Thank you. Jess Royer, Spring Township. To all three commissioners, thank you for attending various marches, rallies, and demonstrations against hate and in support of communities of color. Are you prepared at this time to say out loud that Black Lives Matter and to release a statement advocating for the redesign of law enforcement operations? From Facebook, George Holmes, Mayor of Hamburg. Thank you to the County Commissioners and Sheriff Weekneck for their support during our recent Black Lives Matter protest and march in Hamburg. Okay, I believe that concludes all of the Q&A.
Yes, it does. And at this time, we're going to close comments. My colleagues, do either of you want to make comments? Again, this is a comment period, so it's up to you. Commissioner Bond.
I want to respond to Liz Cates on the detox. Both Stan Papademetrio from COCA and Ed Mahalik from our MHDD agency have been working tirelessly to find an alternative to the closure of the Tower Health detox unit. These two men have been engaged, and I think there's going to be some solutions going forward to replace the detox. As was called out in the newspaper by Stan Papademetrio, the benefit of having the location right there in West Reading was really advantageous for a large number of people. There are potential other locations, but they may not be as convenient. So they are working again like this. I think they have a 90-day window of opportunity, but if I have updates on that, I will be able to share that with you next week. Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Rivera.
Just a few items here. One, there was a comment around the policy on COVID, and just want to reiterate again that the county has not stepped down any of its efforts on encouraging people and businesses to do what is right to maintain our residents healthy and safe throughout this situation. We have not made any comments whether we agree or not with what the legislature did. What our focus on is making sure that people are remaining safe. We're in the yellow phase right now. Tomorrow we will find out if we go into the green phase. But even if we go into the green phase, it doesn't mean that everything is relaxed. We need to continue working on and pushing people to wear masks, to keep social distancing, to wash their hands, for businesses to do what's right. Because it's not just a matter of going yellow or going green, but it's a matter of keeping our residents safe and healthy, especially those who are at most risk of this. So we all need to continue to do our part, and we have never said that we need to relax what we're asking right now, that businesses should not follow guidelines. That has never been said. On the contrary, we continue to push. The GRCA, Greater Reading Chamber Alliance, is putting out a program now as well to encourage businesses to follow guidelines, letting them know what they need to do. And the Board of Commissioners supported that initiative of the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. So that is something that's very, very important for us, that we continue to keep our focus on doing what is right, both businesses and residents, to make sure that the numbers continue to go down of positive cases here in the county for the benefit of everyone. Spoke about evictions already, spoke about some programs that are available there. But on the side of mortgages is different than rent. When you're looking at mortgages, if you have a federally backed program, A lot of those have different programs that are in place to be able to give anywhere from 3 to 6 months of deferments. Those deferments can look different from lender to lender. Conventional mortgages are a little bit different because they're private mortgages, but you will find that a lot of lenders are looking at deferral options right now. So if you know of anyone that is having issues, their first call has to be to their bank or to their lender to see what options they have available for them, and this should be done sooner rather than later. So make sure that that's something that's looked into. The auctions for the houses right now, sheriff sale and tax sales, have been postponed. I'm not sure when they're going back up again. It could be in July, it could be in August. That depends on the sheriff and on the treasurer, but no house has been put up for sale during this process. Also, just to make people aware, even if a house is on a sheriff sale list or on a tax sale list, the owners still have the ability to put their mortgage up to date or work something out with their lender, or to pay their taxes up to date or work something out to avoid that sale. So there are options out there for people that are in that situation. We understand that it's a hard situation, so we're doing all we can to try to keep people in their homes. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera. I just want to address a general comment. Commissioner Barnhart and I are in our 13th year. And Commissioner, you can jump in, but I don't think we have been more accessible to the public through various meetings and Microsoft Teams and on BCTV than we are right now. And we've made a commitment that at whatever point we come back into the 13th floor for in-person meetings, we've said we're committed to continuing with Microsoft Teams, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. That is about accessibility. That is about transparency. Not only that, I will reiterate that when the program is over, a record remains on our Facebook page. A record remains on our YouTube page, so that anybody at any time can go back and see that. And I'll highlight, we now have a Berks Ops meeting that runs every Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock. It is a public meeting. We have a commissioners meeting that runs every Thursday at 10 as a public meeting. We've been running and will be running again next week on Wednesdays at 3:30, a weekly update. Next week focuses exclusively on the CARES Act. Commissioner Barnhart is actually going to be leading that program because he's been assigned, if you will, to focus on the CARES Act, dealing with the state and working that with our local partners. And we also do a phase 3 meeting at 1 o'clock on Thursday. We have one again today that is a public meeting. All of those meetings have opportunities for public comment. I honestly believe we are doing a very good job in making this accessible. I will agree it's difficult if the only way you can respond is coming downtown, paying to park, coming up to the 13th floor, and waiting for your opportunity to speak. That is not easy for people, and I get that, we get that, and that's one of the reasons we've reinstituted not reinstituted, we're committed long-term to Microsoft Teams and our social media platforms. One other thing I want to touch on. We have been very open and upfront about everything we're doing relative to COVID-19. We've had multiple opportunities for people to interact on COVID-19 questions and comments. So some of the statements that are made are hard to understand if people are reading their local media and listening to the various events that we've sought to do for the sole purpose of making sure people know what's available, what's going on. We've talked a lot about evictions, and yes, we're even tracking. Our solicitor, Christine Sadler, has been checking from time to time on the status of eviction cases that are with the Prothonotari's office. So we're interested, we're concerned, and we are acting in every way that we believe is reasonable. You want to jump in, Commissioner Barnhart?
Sure. I think from the onset, Commissioner Leinbach, we had always BCTV recording live and showing it several times throughout the week, our meetings. FMZ has been in attendance. The Reading Eagle has been in attendance almost every week. WEEU will come on occasion. Now with COVID-19 in the middle of March, I think we've expanded our horizon to these other platforms, Facebook, and now this Microsoft Teams Live. We have pledged to continue this. Our minutes are on our website for anyone to review and question and comment. We've never had, in my 13 years, 18 people come to a commissioners meeting and ask questions. You're certainly entitled to ask your questions. I've been in local government now for 37 years, and I think people throw terms around like transparency, and I don't really understand. In my 37 years in local government, there's always been an opportunity for the public to comment. I have visited other meetings, such as the Reading School District meeting about 2 years ago, with Isabel Monterosa and I did a Census 2020 presentation to plead with the school district to get engaged in the Census 2020. They literally have a clock on the wall on a big screen that counts down from 3 minutes. It counts down, and it's kind of an imposing thing when two people are trying to make 3 minutes worth of comments and explain what we're trying to do in the community, and boom, the alarm goes off, sit down. Not a single comment, no one asked any follow-up questions. I've been to numerous other municipal meetings, and I have to tell you, I think this Board of Commissioners has been very open and very transparent. And to the issue of moving it to nights and weekends and all over the place, that's a good concept, but here's the problem. Then we'll start to get the same reaction from people who during the day can visit the meeting or view the meeting and say, why are you meeting on nights and weekends? Why don't you meet at 10 o'clock? Because we are accustomed to you meeting at Thursday at 10 o'clock. We started the media events on Wednesdays at 3:30. Our budget operations meeting, which I'd say for 13 years, I could probably count on two hands how many people from the public came. Crystal Kowalski comes a lot regarding the jail. Claudia Strauss had been here about the nursing home. This has opened up a whole new opportunity for people. So I think the phrase transparency, if you have an idea to tell us how to be more transparent other than, hey, move it out to Twin Valley on a Saturday night or come to Governor Mifflin's school during the day, I'd like to hear those opportunities for us to increase our transparency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.